All right, now let's do the refactoring. So let's go to vehicle resource. This is the resource we're going to use when creating or updating a vehicle. So we need to rename this to save vehicle resource. Now, if you look at the project folder, the file name is not changed. So it's one of the limitations of VS Code, and it's easier to do this kind of refactoring in Visual Studio. So let's manually change this to save vehicle resource. Now I'm going to create another resource, vehicle resource. So this is going to look similar to our domain class. Let's go to our vehicle class. Here we copy all the properties and paste them here. Now, starting from the top, let's review each property. First, we don't need this model ID because this is only used as the foreign key property in our domain class. So delete. Instead of model, we're going to use model resource that we created earlier. So nowhere we have association to domain classes. Okay? Is registered is good. However, we don't need these data annotations because this is only for updating data. So delete. Now, instead of three properties here, contact name, email, and phone, we're going to have a contact resource and call it contact. Then delete all these additional properties. Last update is good, so we keep it here. Let's just resolve the namespace. Now, instead of vehicle feature here, we're going to use feature resource, which has an ID and name. And finally, let's modify the constructor to vehicle resource. And here we create a collection of feature resources. So this is our new resource. Now we need to set up mapping between a vehicle class and a vehicle resource. So let's go to mapping profile. We have these red underlines here, but this is just a temporary issue in VS Code. So when I change the name of the file, it somehow got confused and it cannot find this class. If you restart VS Code, the issue will go away. So here we need another map, create map between vehicle and vehicle resource. Now for the contact property, I'm going to borrow this code here. So we read individual properties from our domain class like contact name, contact email, and contact phone, and put them in a contact resource object. Now similarly for the features, I'm going to borrow this code here. Except that here, instead of IDs, we need feature resource objects. So we go to the collection of features in our vehicle object. And this collection, as you know, it's not the actual feature collection, it's vehicle feature collection. It's the association class that sits between vehicles and features. So here I want to new up a feature resource class and set its ID to vehicle feature.feature.id and name to vehicle feature.feature.name. So note that when loading a vehicle, we need to also eager load this feature property. You're going to see that in a second. So here's our mapping. Now let's go to vehicles controller. In our get vehicle action, we're going to map this vehicle to vehicle resource. Now, as I explained, we need to eager load the actual feature objects here. So I'm going to break this line to make it more readable. So we're going to include features. And then we're going to include, this is a new method in Entity Framework Core, which allows us to eager load nested objects. So here when we include features, we're actually dealing with vehicle feature objects. So in this method, we add vehicle feature goes to vehicle feature.feature. Now I didn't have proper IntelliSense in VS Code for this, but the code compiles perfectly fine. All right, let's test the result. So let's get the vehicle with ID 1. Send. All right, here's the response. So note that model is null because we didn't eager load it. So back in our controller, we're also going to include vehicle.model. Now if we call this again, we should have the model. Beautiful. So model has ID and name. But we don't have the make here. So we want to have a complete representation of this vehicle object. So let's go to our vehicle resource again. Here I'm going to add another property. Make resource. Make. Now we need to configure the mapping. So let's go to mapping profile. Here's our map. So for member, vehicle resource goes to vehicle resource.make. We want to map this from vehicle goes to model.make. So that means when eager loading the model, we should also include the make. So here we're eager loading the model. We add, then include. Now we have a model object, so model goes to model.make. Okay, let's test it. So send. So we have the model and make ID name. However, we have this property here, models. We don't want to return all the models of this make when returning a vehicle. Now, don't worry about this for now. We're going to fix this in the next lecture. So let's look at the other properties on this object. We've got is registered, contact with 3 properties, name, email, and phone. Beautiful. Last update, which we didn't have before, and features. So for each feature, we have an ID and a name. So next, I'm going to fix the issue with the make property.